Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. Total disbelief at Ford Field.
He may go all the way to the 20 down the right side, and it's Randall Cobb to the 5, to the end zone, to the touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Welcome, everyone, to the Green and Golden Boys Packers podcast, the podcast for Packer fans saying, I'm not nervous. Are you nervous? I am your co-host, Charles. With me, as always, is Marcus. Marcus, how are you?
Doing well, Charles. Happy playoff weekend.
Happy playoff weekend, and here we are on a Friday afternoon recording the episode, but we were just saying that it feels like Saturday because we're excited to watch the Green Bay Packers take on the 49ers tomorrow night, Saturday night at 7:15. And man, am I excited. Marcus, can you hear my excitement?
Yeah, I mean, you sound about normal, but I'm really excited too. You're not nervous. I'm not nervous. I think we've been there, done that. You know, being nervous and being tentative, I think we both know as former athletes that never bodes well. So bring on the 49ers.
Let's go.
At Lambeau, full capacity.
49ers who?
Saturday night. Let's freaking do it.
Let's play. It doesn't matter that we've lost the last 3 games in the playoffs against the 49ers.
Don't matter.
Take that out of your head. It doesn't matter that Aaron Rodgers is close to 500 in the playoffs. Screw that.
Don't matter.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Aaron Rodgers still hasn't decided where he's going to play next year. Screw that.
Don't matter.
Tomorrow night, we're taking on the worst team currently in the NFC, and we're the best team currently in the NFC, and we're going to pound them.
Man, I sure hope you're right. I will say they're definitely not the worst team. I mean, yeah, you know, they're on paper they're seeded last of the teams left in the playoffs. However,
yes,
you know, this is a tough matchup for the Packers. I mean, this is a team, like you mentioned, they've beat us the last 3 times in the playoffs that we faced them. Haven't been able to get over the Shanahan 49er hump in the playoffs, but it all changes tomorrow when the Green Bay Packers will be victorious against San Francisco.
Victorious! We're going to host another NFC Championship game. We know we are. But, no, in all seriousness, you know, I mentioned it at the end of our episode a couple weeks back after we beat the Lions. This was the team I was the most nervous about playing, and this was the team that I thought we were going to play because I saw the 49ers beating a mediocre Cowboys team. So sure enough, it happened. This is the matchup, you know, that we got. And, you know, it doesn't matter who we're going to play. You know, like we keep talking about. We can talk about, you know, the cool story that the 49ers, you know, have going. You know, they had a game-winning drive the last game of the season to even get into the playoffs. They obviously went into Dallas last week and won. But here's the thing. We got Aaron Rodgers. We got Aaron Jones. We have A.J. Dillon. And have I even mentioned Devontae Adams? I mean, again, I'm still being tongue-in-cheek here, but we're a better team on paper, right? And to your point, we're at home, full capacity. I just don't see us falling flat. I think Aaron's got the most pressure on him than any other player currently in the playoffs, just for a number of reasons. And I just don't see a Green Bay loss this week. But let's dive into it a little bit. What are some key things that you want to talk about first? What's getting you excited about this game? Do you want to start offense, defense, players? Take it away, Marcus.
Sure. First, I want to say congratulations to Devondre Campbell with his All-Pro honors that he received this week. By all accounts, couldn't have happened to a better and more deserving player. What a story and what an acquisition he has been this year for the Packers. He obviously didn't play against the Lions, so I'm really excited to have him back. He's the best linebacker we've had in a decade, full stop. Certainly inside linebacker, probably in the last 15 years. He, I won't say single-handedly, but he has had so much to do with this defense this year and being able to stop the run and defend in the slot when we've had guys that just couldn't do it these last 5 or 6 years. that said, he's going to be back playing this weekend, hopefully, along with a couple of other guys that have been out, injured for the last several months, this entire season, or the last couple weeks. So why don't we talk a little bit about that first? David Bakhtiari played a little bit against the Lions. He should, by all accounts, play at least a portion of this game on Saturday. Randall Cobb is back at practice. MVS back at practice. Zadarius Smith is back at practice.
Let's go.
Yes. Okay. So, I guess let's talk a little bit about that stuff. How do you feel about getting these guys back, getting healthy at the right time?
Well, mixed. I think we should take each one of these players one by one. All the media is saying right now the Packers are healthy, finally healthy. Now we're really going to see the Packers. First of all these guys have been activated. We don't know for sure they're playing. We don't know how much they're playing. We don't know if they're going to get, on a pitch count, for lack of a better way of saying it. So mixed emotions. I'm glad that they're all available. But depending on who we're talking about, I'm more or less optimistic. You mentioned
so
Dave. Go ahead.
Hold on. Do you think any of these guys are a liability if they play too much or anything like that in this game? Like, are we hesitant to have, Zadarius Smith out there when Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary have been so successful this year? Or, are we worried about MVS or Randall Cobb being hesitant and dropping a big pass or deflecting something over the middle? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I am nervous. I think I'm optimistic on Zadarius because if he can be any form of his 2020 self, we might be able to get some good pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo with four guys. And that is a game changer if we can have guys on pass plays kind of stepping back and, protecting the pass. So Zadarius, if we're asking him to take a big role, his first game back, I'm concerned. But if he's just coming in on third and distance, then I'm really excited for it. Someone that I'm more concerned about, oddly enough, is going to be your David Bakhtiari and your Jair Alexander if he plays. Both listed as questionable. David Bakhtiari practiced Tuesday, then took a veterans day off on Wednesday, and then Thursday didn't practice again, which to me feels like he's not building up to a game. To me, it feels like maybe, hopefully not, but maybe he had a small setback. I don't know. So I wouldn't be shocked if David Bakhtiari starts and then doesn't finish, or maybe doesn't even see him at all. But that's such an important position that if he's not 110%, I don't want him in the game, right? A, I don't want him hurt again for another year. But then B, I don't want Aaron Rodgers on his back, right? I mean, doesn't an offensive lineman just seem so much more risky to roll the dice if they are indeed rolling the dice than an edge rusher?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, especially with as well as this offensive line has played this year without him. I mean, I think you worry about disrupting any cohesion that they've had these last 2 months. This entire season, I guess. But
yeah.
I mean, there's definitely that, because if he takes a play off or something or is not 100% or is too winded and somebody gets around him, blindside, boom, hits Rodgers for a big sack or forces a fumble or, God forbid, hurts Rodgers. I mean, that's definitely something worth noting.
And I put Jair Alexander kind of in the same position because, do you want a guy who hasn't had full contact or full whatever, kind of one-on-one on any receiver, even if it's not their number one? And again, that cohesion that you talked about, Rasul Douglas has been, like Campbell, one of the biggest acquisitions we've made this year. That is, like I said before, other people have said it, essentially saved our season, saved our defense with the impact that he's had. How do you use Jair if he's back, and if at all? I mean, I guess that I sound stupid saying if at all, if he's good to go, because he is, the number one corner in the league before he was hurt. But I mean, it's just another position where I'm more nervous. Whereas Zadarius, at least you can just go, hey man, third and long, go get the guy, go make a football play and see what happens. Jair and Bakhtiari, I'm nervous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm less nervous about Jair Alexander. I think if he's coming back and you're going to use him, maybe you have him shadow George Kittle all game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the problems we've had with tight ends the last 4 or 5 weeks, maybe that's your play. You just have Jair Alexander shadow the best tight end in the league, or you just kind of have him line up in the slot and make sure, you know, he's kind of on anyone coming through that area. That way, hopefully, if it's Kittle, you don't have Adrian Amos trying to cover a tight end and unsuccessful like he's been the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Right, and that's something I don't know about football as well. I mean, is that transition to a slot corner easy enough for Jair, or is that off the table? You know, and then do you want Jair and his shoulder taking down Kittle? Right? I mean, is that, you know, there's a difference between, you know, I don't know how much they weigh. Let's call it 250-pound tight end and a 190-pound wide receiver, right?
Well, I mean, somebody's got to cover him, and you're not going to have a linebacker on him.
Right.
So what does that leave you? I mean, you could. We've tried using a safety, you know, on tight ends. That has not worked. So who else would you want?
Yeah. No,
that's what I would say.
I think you make a good point. But to go back to the injuries in general, I'm excited about all of them being back. Obviously, we just talked about some folks I'm more or less worried about. The guy I am the most excited about is my guy, Randall Cobb. You know, he might not be a big target, but just his presence out there is going to draw eyes. You know, he's not Devontae Adams, you know, but he's also not, you know, some no-namer coming off because we're picking up a receiver. He had himself a game against the Rams when he got hurt, and if he can, you know, again, just like I said with Za'Darius, if he's 50% of what he was in that game, then, you know, that third down target is going to be clutch and key, especially in that we don't have Big Bob Tunyon, as we all know.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, his presence out there is going to be important. You know, maybe he only has 3 or 4 targets in that entire game, but maybe he catches all 3, you know, for 40 yards or something. Maybe, you know, he's a red zone target, or maybe he's enough to draw a defender from Devontae Adams or Allen Lazard. You know what I mean? He's out there as kind of I was going to say pylon, because that would be disrespectful, because he's definitely a great player, but a decoy. You know, he could just his ability to draw a defender could be huge in this game, and it could just be a couple of plays, but those could be game changers. We don't know.
Well, and the best part about Aaron Rodgers, we complained about, you know, only focusing on Devontae, and if we revert back to that, that's going to be a whole other subject. But he's the quarterback. I mean, obviously he's the guy. He's the bad man, right? But he's the guy who uses the decoy or the pylon, you know, for 7 points when no one's expecting it, right? Or for that huge third down completion, or they left him open in the middle, and sure enough, he's got, you know, 60 yards of yak, yards after catch. So I'm just excited. I mean, the smarter, you know, the more intelligent guys on the field, the better. And Cobb is clearly that guy. He's got a rhythm with Rodgers. Devontae clearly has a rhythm with Rodgers. Aaron Jones, Dylan, you know, not as much so, but, you know, same concept. They're just guys that you want on the field, and we want those more veteran players out there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about this matchup. I know we've already talked about the Niners Packers, the last 3 matchups in the playoffs, and those haven't boded well for the Green Bay Packers. But you know,
and what'd you say? We're due.
We are due. We are due. This has got to be it, you know?
Yeah.
But this is a really well-coached team. They've got some strong players on both sides of the ball, obviously. Let's talk a little bit about their offense. Obviously, they've got, you know, probably the number 1 or 2 tight end in the league with George Kittle. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk as wide receivers. Deebo Samuel, they've been using him a lot as kind of a gadget player, I think, for the lack of a better term, these last couple months. They weren't really doing that against the Packers in Week 3. But he's a guy that kind of, you know, I feel like their offense kind of runs through him. You know what I mean? Garoppolo's probably not going to throw a ton. But if they can get Deebo Samuel going, you know, it's going to be a tough out for the Packers. I think we did a good job controlling him in that first matchup, but I think they've been a little bit more creative with how they've used him over these last 6 weeks. What people